out
But
faster.
then I find the kilometers going faster.
Yeah, yeah.
Cocky, no joke.
Yes, yes.
And a fella had put up a post, an expert, and he was showing that his car that he serviced and is working perfectly and efficiently, all of a sudden, he is losing
yes.
about 10 or to 12 kilometers per liter and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So I talking to these experts yesterday, and they are telling me the same thing. Yes. They also went into such detail, and I want all of you all to check it, because Imbot and Newman George and Rowley and Small Pin, they rubbing we and see Small Pin take a picture with the Venezuelan ambassador, whoever come to Trinidad, whatever they call them, High Commission, you know what they call consulate, the head of the consulate, right? But they have this love with this Maduro and this Venezuela.
What?
But what the experts I was listening to, and I want you all to test it, and anybody who, any experts in the field, I want you all to put it up on social media, do an analysis, test it properly. I am giving you all the hypothesis based on hearsay evidence and feeling, okay? So I want you all to put some science behind it. They were discussing the color of the diesel. And they were saying the foreign diesel, or the diesel that was made by Petrotrin and so on, would have a clearer kind of color and less fraught.
Right.
But the diesel that they're pumping now, it's yellow. It's giving you a yellow kind of color. And they're talking about sulfur content and so on. And I am saying that I have seen enough evidence from drivers and myself that something is different. I don't have the scientific laboratory test to actually pinpoint what it is and so on.
Yes.
So I am asking the government, where all you're buying all your Paria? Where all you're buying all your diesel from? Where you're buying your fuel from? Where you're buying? Have you changed? What is it? Why are we getting less mileage per liter? You understand what I'm saying? I want some callers to call me and explain that to me. I would love to know, because I'm seeing it, I'm feeling it, I'm hearing it, and I'm hearing from people who know better than me that something is awry. That Paria, where are you buying it from? How does it compare to the diesel and the fuel that Petrotrin used to produce, and or where we could buy from other places? Is it Venezuelan diesel and thing that we getting in here? Where the Commission of Inquiry into the divers down in Paris, you see earlier, these fellas so sick. You know, that jumps me right into our next topic. You know, there are 307-page report that came to the PNM government in December about children being murdered, raped, abused in homes funded by the PNM government, right? You know, the Express, rather than tell PNM to deal with the issues right now, them go on and concoct some kind of story to say that Bastio Pandey government, which eventually got changed from 1818 and the government was stolen by he, did not act on a 1997 report that was done. So rather than tell we now that Rowley now has done nothing while children are being murdered and beaten, battered, raped, and they did nothing for 15 months. They have a report, they now lay it in Parliament, and since December they did nothing. Them going back to 1997, they couldn't blame Kamala. So they gone to Bastio Pandey. And Express newspaper, you know, cocky. Now that could be an interesting historical story. Okay, put that in the middle of your papers and whatever, no problem. Yeah. But you putting that as your editorial in your front page when right now as we speak, children are being buggered, raped, beaten, killed because the PNM failed to act. That's how sick the Express newspaper is. Contemplate that for a moment. Right? Contemplate that for a moment. That the Express rather go back, whether right or wrong, I ain't going to all the research and so on, okay?
Yeah.
And then also, at what period and what pace? Because Bastille Pandey and his government were kicked out of office by a president who had an axe to grind with Bastille Pandey and handed PNM government. Because anybody who know 1818 is a tie.
Yes.
The incumbent remains. The man gone and flipped the whole script and give PNM power. But that's not the point.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's emergency right now? It's critical that children are being abused, raped, battered, buggered,
Yes.
burnt with cigarettes right now, and the Express chooses to go back and do research about 1997 with all due respect. You ever hear anything like that?
That's crazy, man.
218-7762.
Craziness.
I want some fellas, some people from the oil, gas sector, some engineers, some who worked at Petrotrin, some oil drillers, some fellas who work on the rigs. I want some, don't say a name, you don't say a name or nothing, me, I want you to get no trouble, you know the PNM
Right.
vindictive. But I want some answers and some analysis from you
Yes.
on the fuel.
All right. There we go.
Hello, good evening.
Tomato choka sada roti and sahina. Anil, that is an easy thing to do, you know. When Petrotrin was basically functional, when they produce a product and you export it or you sell it locally, you have to have a product data sheet and a certificate of analysis. So somewhere inside Petrotrin, somebody will have that. And then you compare it with what you import in. Anytime you import something from anywhere, you will get a product data sheet and you'll get certificate analysis. And they say then compare both of them and they see what you're getting. If you're getting chalk and cheese or you're getting, as they say, I won't say what it is. And the other thing is,
But
talking,
have you been hearing or feeling that same thing?
yeah. I know that. From I used to put, you call this the cheaper gas and super gas.
Yes.
And within 3 months, I had to service everything, my throttle, my injectors, everything. And I gone on to super now. Look
premium now,
they took it over because the super was a piece of S. And people have to know that, and I complain all the time. And the same thing I tell you now, it is easy. Somebody should be asking that in Parliament. Let me see what they're doing. They're hiding. And 8 months ago, somebody said that on national television, came out and say what they're doing. They basically putting blinker on our eyes and reflecting on the quality of it. Now, quickly, I want to talk about this thing about the China thing, where Rowley, I see him on some Facebook, says he want the police, he directing Tojam to go and investigate. It are two boys who dead under the ambit of this lady Mitchell, one of the nominee supporters in South. He are telling Tojam to go and investigate those two murder and see who's culpable for it. I go and have a nice day.
Thank you. 218-7762. 218-7762. Very interesting. So people are feeling it, Corky. I'm telling you, something is going, and you cannot trust. Anything this PNM says lie. Every one of them, you know. Man gone on CNN and lie, you know. The next one start to say, well, he need to see a psychiatrist and a psychologist because he is being bullied on social media since the truth come out. Since a police special branch report come out. So when it was hidden and it was, the lies were being hidden, he had no problem.
Right.
But when the truth come out, he need a psychologist. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Anil and Corky and whoever else there.
Yes, talk to me.
Anil, my wife, let me put it this way, like she hate politics. If she come home now and hear the radio and I listen to it, she vex. and let me tell you what she is saying. Yes, she paying more for the gas. But this lady, she ain't complaining about she paying more, you know. She complaining about that the mileage she used to get, when she put the gas, she no longer getting it. She has to put gas more often. That is her complaint. So there's something definitely wrong with the gas.
So when she full a tank, she getting less mileage.
Less mileage. So she have to visit the
Gas station more
gas
frequently.
station more often.
I am here. That is what I'm saying. So yes, and that is we getting that across the board. So we need some answers.
Yeah.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah, that's one more thing before.
Don't let your
I don't-
wife
I
get
don't know
vexed with you, you know. Go and listen to some music and hug she up, yes?
Yeah, nah. I don't know if you hear the breaking news that Monilal gave in the parliament.
No. Tell me.
Yes, that the government lost the OS habilitation to the tune of $1 billion
With
You
the
know-
highway?
with the highway.
Oh, I didn't hear. No, I was.
Yeah, well, more
yes.
to come, more to come. That's breaking news.
Right. Well, he got probably they will have it later too on the virtual, the Monday night virtual, 7:30 also.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, my brother. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, man.
218-7762. Hello. Good evening.
Mr. Arnold and Company.
Good evening. Good evening.
You know why I say this is true is after that draw that to my attention. I didn't really check my mileage down to the my button, eh? But since December month, it looks like the gas for some reason here getting the mileage used to get to the gas. Right? Point two. I don't know, I could be wrong, I could be right, eh? Mr. Watson, I think it took them to Tobago City that critical, see them to those to Tobago City form government, I think 3 times in Trinidad, right? 3 times?
Mm-hmm.
So why you focus? If you grab one of them Tobago seat, the cuckoo there, you know, we good for the cuckoo, you know, but I don't know he coming in China and people he spreading out himself too much, I find. And come like you have high energy like the sun, they say the sun can only burn a piece of paper, you focus on it, you know. So I find you should have focused on Tobago, try and grab them 2 Tobago seats. If you grab one out of the 2, you good to go. But I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think that's spreading out China because you see the people over there, they give them a chance and they want to see that here happen for that. Want to see a fulfill at least your basic you can only fulfill promises that within your capacity. Because remember, you can't go and take out money in church. You come and do something for a man. But at least you could do what you could do what you could do, and from there take it from there. But
All right,
I
my
don't
brother.
know. I could do wrong there. And yeah, man. Bye.
All right. 218-7762. 218. Hello. Good evening. Hello. Hello. 218-7762. Well, we will be going to the parliament. Hello. Good evening.
Yeah, me again. I didn't do the research and what I'm trying to have on this latest thing with this agricultural drive that they have there.
The
Because far
homestead
I
thing.
understand they choose people, but I think the better thing to do was to strengthen people out there, and then from there now we'll take an assessment that those who really want to come in and will see us.
Yes,
So me
but
that
that's
kind of there.
no, but you sounding like somebody who would like to get something done properly. When the
Yeah.
PNM does something like that, that is just to give the friend and family land.
Yeah, because at the end of the
They
day,
may study
we
not.
depend that they strengthen them, and plus what we could do is do a little database on the products what we have, so we'll know what to plant here, where everybody planting bygone, what we go do the bygone. I don't know one thing what we have to recognize, sour salt, passion fruit, pepper. Those are 3 things. If we could really get a good if we could really organize ourselves properly, we have a never-ending market. That's enough. Never-ending market. Yeah.
All right, my
I'm
brother. Thank you.
bye.
218-7762. 218-7762. Corky, I go send you that. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Arnold, and good evening, Kokidi.
Evening, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Not good, sir.
Tell me.
The water problem in Kelly Village, sir.
Still no
We
water in
not-
Kelly Village?
We don't have no water. When they do bring the water, it dripping one drip, sir. So why they bringing the water and it dripping drip? You can't do nothing. You can't wash your clothes in the nothing. So we having this problem a long time. All inside Madras Road inside Madras Road, the village surrounding all Central, all about have water. why Kelly Village getting a lot of trouble with his government and with this Wassa people and all kind of things. Water is life, so I end up getting sick yesterday. It ain't no water even Sunday, so to cook your lunch. It's very sad. It's very sad. And I think you all should raise this matter, Mr. Anil. Raise it to the Prime Minister, Kamala, and tell she what's going on in Kelly Village.
Okay, my dear, we will continue to do that, all right?
This is very important, sir. Water is life.
Definitely, I agree with you 100%. But you
I'm
don't,
a little upset because I must be upset, sir.
You should be upset, but I want you. We will try and get something done there, even though it's very difficult because MP and M do not care. But I do not want you stressing out yourself, please. Okay? Yes, it's terrible
Thank
situation.
you, sir, because I'm really stressing myself. This water problem might give me a heart attack or something.
No, well, I don't want that. So you need to relax as much as you can. Go on the hammock, listen to Corky, and Corky go play some music later.
Well, I don't have a hammock, but sit down in the gallery.
Sit down in the gallery, on the chair, and relax. Breathe some of God, good oxygen. And do not stress out about it. It is a bad situation, but I need you to relax and don't worry yourself, okay?
Okay, thank you so very much.
Dear.
A long time I haven't heard from you in the program here.
Yes, my
I
dear.
always listen to Mr. Victor and Corky D.
Yes, Gil. I had a little stress with my dogs there, but all right. Okay.
I hope your dog all right.
All right, my dear. Blessings.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Corky has sent here something, the full contribution of Kamala Prasad Bisesa.
Right.
I'm going to play it for you all from the Parliament because Imbot and PNM coming for more of your money. And while Kamala Prasad Bisesa cannot dissect the entire mid-year review and request in the short space of time that she's allowed to, you need to hear the facts, figures, and information. Because the mass media is the most disgusting, corrupt media in the Caribbean. They hide things from PNM. They take ridiculous positions. I just gave you an example. No one is saying the report from 1997 wasn't critical and action should have been taken quicker. That may be very well true. But right now we are faced with children being abused, raped, murdered, killed, battered, burnt with cigarettes, and the PNM has done nothing for 15 months. So in the scheme of things, the more critical, urgent area is to get the PNM to try to do something.
Yeah.
You understand? So we go into the Parliament. We go into the Parliament to take in the contribution earlier today of the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the Member of Parliament for Siparia, responding to Colm Imba the Dwayne's request to come and take more of your money. Run it, Corky.
Finance Committee of the House of Representatives for the second session, 2021-2022, 12th Parliament, on the consideration of proposals for the supplementation of appropriation for the fiscal year 2022. Member for Superior. Member for Superior, before you start, you have a maximum of 66 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As I join this debate on a motion where the government is seeking to ask Parliament to approve a further over $3 billion for expenditures for the rest of the 5 months of this fiscal year. So in addition to the 52 plus billion that was already appropriated in the budget in October for fiscal 2022. This is an additional $3 billion. And my question is this: what have you done with all that money? What have you done with all these billions of dollars? What do you have to show for expenditures of these massive amounts of money? And you know, Madam, as I listened to the Honourable Minister of Finance, you know you hit rock bottom when the only accomplishment this government could tell us about is that they didn't borrow for the first 5 months of this fiscal year. Big accomplishment, shouting and boasting and celebrating that you were able not to borrow for 5 months. That is your boast, that is your commitment, that is your accomplishment. And that has nothing to do with leadership and performance by that government. All the things the minister is boasting and crowing about, nothing to do with proper management and leadership, because he told us himself, it's from the energy prices.
The members who are congregating to the back, please either carry a conversation outside or come to your seats. Proceed, Member for Superior.
Thank you, Madam. And so nothing to do with performance and management and so on, has to do with the higher energy prices. And now, the question is this: after the war in Ukraine, after these prices go back to normal, what will you do? What will you do? Because you have shown no projects, no policy, no strategy, no programs, anything to grow the economy, what you're boasting about high energy prices and what the war in Ukraine has done. And therefore, what does it mean? When that is over, what will you then do? Will you go back to raiding the HSF? Will you go back to borrowing because you have no new projects, no revenue streams, no investments? 7 years. And all your game changers, game over. None of them ever materialize. So when the minister speaks, it's very difficult for us to believe what he tells us. I'm not saying he's dishonest, but I think he's just over-exuberant and very optimistic. Very optimistic, and seeks to infuse that into the national population. But I am not convinced. And for the majority of this time the minister took, not even the minister sounded as though he believed what he was saying. Very low tone, very low-keyed, except when he hit the spots of high energy prices and so on. But before I continue, Madam, I just want to say something about what transpired with respect to the speaking time. Here I have in my hand, and listen, you talk for 6 or 7 minutes, I could do that and more. So don't think you blindsided me. Don't think you blindsided us by telling us that we would only have 45 minutes and then come today and say unlimited time. So I'm not afraid. I can talk you any day, any time, any place, anywhere. Anywhere. And so I have here in my hand a print of a WhatsApp message sent by the Honourable Chief Whip, MP David Lee, to the Honourable Leader of Government Business. And he says, hi, this is at 7:27 p.m. on Friday. Monday's debate. What would be the speaking time? The Honourable Leader of Government Business responded, and I quote from the WhatsApp message, the usual 45 minutes for the mover and responder, and 30 minutes for every other speaker, 30 minutes to close. That is at 7:30. So the message went from Chief Whip Lee at 7:27. Response came back at 7:30, and the Chief Whip says, noted. Now, this is a very important point, because when you look at the motion that was moved today to vary the speaking time, when the Honourable Leader of Government Business attempted to tell this House that, look, we've gone back to regular time, and therefore that's why it was determined that this will happen, as the motion was moved for change in speaking time. That only the speaking time be as follows with respect to Parliament, appropriation, supplementary appropriation, financial year 2022 bill, only the speaking time be as follows. Only for that. So this is not going back to regular time. Not going back to regular time. The motion was clear. It was only that the speaking time be as follows. Finance, unlimited. So you attempted in a way to blindside us by giving the wrong information. And therefore you misled this House and misled us. And that when you say you want people to hear and you want to talk as long as you want to talk and unlimited, there's a total bias of what takes place in this House, and I do not cast that onto the Speaker. The government runs or attempts to run this Parliament as if it were Balachet House, but this is not Balachet House. And you know, I am seeing something here. And I can see even in that standing finance committee, we were here for almost 10 hours on Friday, doing the people's business in that SFC on Friday. And you saw a pattern of behavior that was most appalling. And today, when I listen to Prime Minister's question time and the responses, then I can see where they got their behavior on Friday from, is follow the leader, follow the leader, follow the leader. So, when we came on Friday, as we are entitled to do, to ask questions, the purpose of that committee, to ask the questions for the people on behalf of the people. What did we get? We got evasions, distortions, in some cases outright hostility with respect to answering questions, evading the questions, shouting about people. And I saw it again today, as I said. So follow your leader, follow your leader, follow your leader. And refuse to deal with the people's business. I listened with astonishment, both on Friday in the SFC and again today to the Honourable Minister of Finance, seeking to find what is the rationale for asking the Parliament to give you $3-point-something billion more to spend. And then I read the 251 pages of the SFC report, which we received yesterday morning, and then some responses today, this morning, for a debate that we have to do this afternoon. And all the queries and questions, there were over 57 areas of where additional information was sought by members on this side. Not for us, but on behalf of the taxpayers and the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And again, as I said, people want to know. In local parlance, we say, where the money gone? Where the 52 billion you were given in October last year, where that gone? And where is this 3-point-something billion? Where are you going to spend it? So we have to ask. So you come and you tell us, we have to pay contractors. The minister talked about it. Bills, they have bills to pay, bills to pay, bills to pay. We're going to pay VAT and give VAT refunds. And the VAT refunds, madam, from what I understood, at one point he says 1.6 billion. At another point he said it's extra billions more. I heard two numbers and I checked the Hansard. Initially he talked about 1.6 billion to pay out, and then he came to more billions. But the IMF told us, madam, that is but a drop in the bucket. The IMF report told us it is over $7 billion owing to businesses in this country. Over 7 billion. And that VAT payment goes backwards. It's not like they accrued in this year. It's for over a period of time that you have these businesses taking their money up front, paying it in VAT to the government, waiting according to law for the refunds to the VAT. And years later, you're still waiting. Your business gone bust by this time because of your upfront payment. Government is taking the money of the VAT taxpayers like a loan. But they don't give back interest on it when they pay it. So, you know, I want to suggest, and when we form the government, we will amend that VAT Act. So you'll have a net-off effect. You will have a net-off effect against your taxes. You cannot keep doing this. And this government has been the worst in using the money from the VAT people. And these are small businesses, some big, some larger, whatever. It is a dangerous pattern of behavior in holding on to the VAT. So don't come to votes. You're going to, recover the economy and boost the economy. You're going to pay all these VAT refunds. And then who are you paying it to? Whom? Right here in that SFC, we saw it. with respect to a company, I think it was Beijing Construction, if I'm not mistaken. So if I may just find that, the numbers there. Beijing Construction for the industrial estate to pay millions in VAT refunds. And when asked here, well, we'll find out what happened. Millions of dollars in VAT. Phoenix Park, E-Tech, VAT payment. Phoenix Park, VAT, E-Tech, VAT payment. The evidence is clear based on the responses in the SFC that the commitment to pay outstanding VAT for an industrial estate as opposed to spending that money to develop industrial capacity. The only money from the VAT payment being retained by Beijing would be the VAT they paid for the raw materials and in performance of their contract to their service providers. We understand that the government may be using this approach to ensure they have liquidity through this VAT component in the project. The question is why government cannot remit the net VAT returns to E-Tech and let E-Tech expand its industrial activity and capacity. The government is merely taking this net VAT component from one spreadsheet in the Ministry of Finance and doing what? Put it in another part of the same Ministry of Finance spreadsheet. One spreadsheet to another in the Ministry of Finance. And let's see what happens when the government gets their net VAT payment back from Beijing on the Phoenix Park project. Instead of letting it sit in the consolidated fund to cover renters and fees for lawyers and so on, they should do this as a net VAT is paid. The VAT component on this project should be cycled back to E-Tech as a supplementary appropriation. And so they could do business incubators for growing SMEs to boost export capacity, business upscaling projects for export, ready products, scorpion pepper, Trinitario chocolate, that we can have these business startups. Government could have established a more robust presence in destination markets to grow our own economy. So instead of under head 18 Ministry of Finance, they choose to engage in spreadsheet economics, as I said before, moving cash from one line item in the ministry to another. In the end, no material benefit to the industry players. So I'm saying, why don't you resource, finance, E-Tech? What is also of concern was a confession by the Minister of Trade. A stranger to this house came from the other place, Minister of Trade, that some $25.9 million will be used to pay the same foreign company. And I quote here from her words. It is associated with the extension of time request. Listen carefully on what this is for. It is associated with the extension of time requests by the contractor to E-Tech. And these sort of claims are associated with inclement weather. We're talking about $25.9 million, inclement weather, with shutdowns during COVID, with increased shipping rates, squatter issues, etc. What squatter issues is 25-point-something million? What squatter issues? I wonder what squatter issues we are repaying for this 25-something million. I wonder what kind of inclement weather we are paying 25-point-whatever million dollars, man. And then you want to come here and boast you're paying VAT refunds and doing all these things when you have people in this country cannot put a plate of food on their table. Where there's real suffering in Trinidad and Tobago. So I ask you again, where all the money gone? We want to know where the money gone. Tell us the accomplishment apart from telling us that you didn't have to borrow. You didn't have to borrow. So I said I listened in astonishment. And not just ordinary astonishment. I listened in abject astonishment, meaning my heart was so depressed, my soul, my spirit, when I see that in this entire $3 billion more you want to spend nothing for people, nothing to help the ordinary people of our land, nothing. Nothing to create jobs. There's joblessness out there. Nothing to really help crime. I think MP Saddam, under national security, the increase for the SSA, and the minister couldn't tell us if one CCTV camera had been repaired. Not one. He couldn't tell us that. And then said he chose to answer that question in what? In silence. Minister, you should just go home in silence. Just go. Crime is such an all-time high. cannot tell us when we came to the parliament, and this is not to use the death of one of our daughters of our soil, with the Andrea Barrett matter, when it came about the CCTV cameras, you know, not one camera going up there yet. And another body was found. Another body was found. I saw someone telling me the Prime Minister went up to a repo. Is a repo his place? To see a cow or some animals on a farm. He never went up a repo where when all these daughters of our land, their bodies were found. Never find time to pass. But you're going up to see somebody, cow I think it was. I saw a picture. Maybe mistaken. What is your care for the children of this land? You drill up and dig up and put out yesterday a 25-year-old report. And then you're going back 25 years to look for Pandy, that he was in government. Out of those years, how many were you in government? What did you do with that report? What did you do? The famous Sabah, infamous Sabga report, what did you do? Coming down now, 25 years, witch hunting, when you, out of those the majority of years, you were in office. So look, no crocodile tears from that minister about his children's homes, you know. No going back 25 years. You are in charge now. Do something. Do something. Our children need to be safe. They need to be secure. We need justice for these children. So you come here for more money in the supplementary appropriation and so on. Up to now, I'm not sure if any of those recommendations in that report have been taken to heart. Take another 5 weeks. Take another 6 months. Task force again to do something else. And children are in dangerous positions there. And you come for these monies. The monies, each of the homes, you're giving money to them. Hey, everything is not about money, you know. It is about getting these children into safe places now, not leaving them there until you can deal with whatever issues that your task force will come up with. And therefore, it is not for me to tell you what to do, but I can tell you what we will do when we form the government. I can tell you that. I can tell you we have a track record of what we did when we were in office. There is a track record, and no amount of silly noises is going to help you escape. In every sector, we were able to bring a better quality of life, a better quality. My colleagues will share some of that, and why I'm raising this, madam, is because of the expenditure. You have spent X and Y amount of dollars, and still the children don't have their laptops. You have a prime minister boasting he get 32 or 42 or even 100 laptop. I would say, some people would say, not me, that's like a hypocrite, you know. It's like you're just showing off that you're giving all these few laptops. What about all the other children, man? What about them? So you come here on the education for more money, not wanting about a laptop. Nothing in it. Anita is a MB. Nothing in education. Have you even built a school with all this money and you're coming for more? Have you even built a police station? You know, we built about 8 or 9 police stations. We built over 106 schools. We could show where the money was. You can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it. In economy, under the economy, we got $48 billion in FDI. What have you got? Under this government, we had minus FDI. Over $10 billion, zoops, pick up and fly away, and went away. FDI outflows negative. And you come to boast that you can see clearly. You told us that years ago, you didn't say it today. But you say some people only see doom and gloom even when the sun is shining. But Minister, the sun is not shining on our economy. All the vital signs of the economy are in trouble, every single one. No matter how you try to polish it up and put it out, every single one in the economy. And I know we are doing with the supplementary appropriation, Madam Speaker. But the minister went at large. The minister went at large. He spent the time reading out the certain heads and the amounts and then went to talk about public debt, to talk about GDP. So many other things the minister inserted in this, and he was not found irrelevant. He was not found to be out of the, on the track with the matters being debated. No. He was allowed to do all of that, and therefore I'll respond to some of that.
Member?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure you don't mean it, but there's an imputation in those statements. All right? So please watch it.
Sure. The only imputation, madam, is not to the chair. It is to the Minister of Finance. That is it. Nothing to the chair of this honorable House or to the honorable Speaker of the House. And so we went into this And again, the maths not maths. And I said that last budget time. Once again, MP Anita had given me those words, maths, not maths. And she says the young people say. So when we look at the supplementary appropriation and so on, and in the Standing Finance Committee, we are not seeing the maths in, adding up. It's just not adding up. The majority of the additional allocation, Minister told us goods and service. But you know, one of the major pranks in the supplementary allocation, out of that $3 billion, 1.7 billion, that's the largest chunk of the money, is going towards current transfers and subsidies. Now, we saw Minister saying he's going to be paying, a lot of this is to pay bills, paying Tech bills, TSTT bills, WhatsApp bills, rentals, and so on. But listen, all those things is from one arm of the state to the next arm of the state. That's not going to be helping people out there. And some of those things date back to 2018. Some of those bills they have been owing since 2018. And then you want to know WhatsApp running bankrupt. You want to know why TSTT is going bankrupt. These public utilities that you have not been paying your monies. And I never heard something so ludicrous. When asked about these bills, the response from the government was that, hello, the company, TSTT and WASA, they said, listen, we didn't get the invoices. Huh? We did not get the invoices. From 2018, you're owing these bills, and you didn't get invoices. I refuse to believe that. And I'm going to file a Freedom of Information application to find out exactly what went on. Why is this money so far in arrears? So deliberate underestimating in the last budget, and we see there, therefore the numbers not going. Further, when we were looking at the numbers in that supplementary appropriation schedule and so on, we noticed there was an attempt not to include a variation of appropriation note. Now, normally we come for supplementary and a variation. It is true that the Parliament doesn't have to approve it, but the Parliament has sight of the variations within a head. That never came, but yet the Minister was moving and is moving money that was approved for something else on that different line item from the last budget, and we don't know what those were unless when we looked at the number. But wait, that's not the number in the Yellow Book, in the estimates from last year. So this is like a slide, well, one cast imputation like that, but something is not right there, that you do not bring the variations. You get up and tell me, Member Mr. Barra, you know, you don't have to approve it, but the Parliament has to see it. When you move something from national security that was for CCTV cameras, for example, and you're putting it to paying rent for somebody building, well, we need to know that. We need to see what your priorities are. We saw also the avoidance of answering questions. Avoidance of answering questions. Now, if this was their own money, they're entitled not to answer. That's their own money, but this money here, their jobs here in a Standing Finance Committee is to provide the answers of what you're doing with the money. You don't have to come and throw a tantrum. Every time somebody asks you a question here, it's a tantrum, like little children, kicks in Parliament. I saw the Minister for Energy when being asked questions, which of course was under the office of the Prime Minister, because he's a minister in the office of the Prime Minister. Tantrum, going in the review mirror, going back to 2010. You want to govern looking backwards in the review mirror? Is that how you want to run this country? Throwing the tantrum, buffing the people asking the questions. And again, why didn't the Prime Minister himself come to answer his questions under the office of the Prime Minister? The office of the Prime Minister, they're seeking an appropriation of several million dollars. Why didn't the Prime Minister come? And you know, if he were here, he could have answered another question. The honourable member could have answered the question when asked about this national secondary road, $100 million. We checked with the company's registry. First of all, there is no such entity registered in the company's registry. It does not exist. Here we are, however, being asked to approve $100 million for this non-existent entity. When asked in this Parliament, so under which ministry would it fall? Well, that was trouble. Minister said, I don't know. That's the job of the Prime Minister. So why wasn't the Prime Minister here to answer those questions? Why? You want the opposition and you want the Parliament to approve money for you all to spend, and we don't know who is going to, where it's going, when, how, what, where. None of that. The government is not forthcoming on answering the questions and keep avoiding those questions. Then we came to the new Attorney General. Not the former Attorney General. The new green Attorney General. New. And it was green in the sense of being new. It was clear that he really needs to get some help from his colleagues. Because when we asked him about fees, legal fees, now that is an issue, madam. In the SFC, we asked about legal fees on various heads that you were seeking money to pay these legal fees and so on. The AG quoted something or said something, I don't know where he got it from. The end result of what he said was low. I'm not giving that to you now. I'm not going to answer those questions. Now, even the former AG came to this Parliament and laid all these legal fees that had been paid out of that office, and this is what the new AG said. I quote, this is from the SFC report, page 31. Has been the practice, member, of the Office of Attorney General and Legal Affairs to pay respect to the concept of fairness, and if an attorney wishes to have his name disclosed, he would first be asked. Really? That's the practice? You have to ask the lawyer first? Well, AG, you are one of the lawyers who receive fees. Why didn't you give consent for your fees to be disclosed? You could give permission to yourself, of course. You didn't have to wait for anybody to give you permission. He continues, the Honorable Attorney General, I was not aware that I was going to be asked to disclose the name. I certainly will ask of that attorney whether he consents, and that information in the normal course will be laid in Parliament according to the custom. I have some questions for you, Honourable AG. How long has this practice been in effect? How long? I've been in this Parliament longer than you. And I have seen time and time and time again that the practice is to answer the question. Who authorized this practice that you speak of? Certainly not your predecessor. As I said, that predecessor laid these things in Parliament. What is the precedent for this practice? Even the boards of private companies must account to their shareholders. And so with respect to the state, the government is the board, and your stakeholders are the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago. Can any state contractor, be it an individual or company, reasonably expect their identity to remain secret from the public? Why you don't want the public to know? Is there something to hide? So you have to ask the lawyer, hello, can I tell them I paid you X dollars for Y amount of work? And the lawyer says no. Where did that money come from? From the treasury of Trinidad and Tobago, which belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And then the Honourable AG talks about the concept of fairness. In this explanation, he talks about the concept of fairness to the attorneys. Fairness to whom? To your lawyer friends? Or to the taxpayers? Where's the fairness to the taxpayers? So you hide behind fairness, saying you have to go and ask the lawyer, and only if he agrees, then you can bring it to the Parliament. But where's the fairness to the taxpayers? Where did you get that money to pay? Where does the government get that money to pay anybody? Anything. It's from the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago. So where is the fairness? And I already asked, AG, you could give consent to yourself, himself to himself, and tell us what were your fees. So I talked about the secondary road rehab improvement company. $100 million we are being asked to approve, and I already told you, we don't know what this is, who it is, and where it's going to fall. But we do know one thing, because there was a massive amount of money being asked for the EBC. I think it was 100 million more to be. I'm sorry. The EBC is being asked, has asked, and we did it in SFC, being asked for monies for this fiscal. We had already allocated some money to the EBC in the original budget, So the total, and I can check it, but the total, my memory serves me right, is about 100 million. Wonder if you can just check it for me. Huh? $23 million, I'm being told. $23 million. So we know monies are going to the EBC. Just take the total and tell me for EBC. Yeah, so money going to EBC, and now we have 100 million going to a company that is not established. And for what? Secondary roads. Now, isn't it that the, what you call them, the regional corporations, they handle secondary roads? Is it then that you're going to take this away from the regional corporations as we run up to the local government elections, and therefore do it through a private company, well, a state company, instead of through the regional corporations? And then you can handpick where you want to go, rather than giving equal funding to the various regional corporations. So I hope the new Minister of Local Government, if those roads now fall under you, under the honourable member in local government, that he will remember the principles of fairness and equity for the corporations and not use the company to do what you want. So, Mr. Hussain, MP, asks the Minister of National Security under the SSA. This was it. SSA wants $66 million more. They're seeking this for the under National Security SSA. And the minister responded most abrasively, I would say, outright refused to answer questions. MP Hussain says, and you're telling this parliament that no CCTV, not one single CCTV camera was repaired, not a single camera, and now you're coming to ask for $66 million additional. Honourable Minister Hines, Madam Chair, I could not tell you where the member for Barataria Sanwan got that. MP Hussain, sure. What I also want to ask the Minister, Madam Chair, is whether or not any of the 66 million will go towards the purchase, acquisition, management of spyware services in Trinidad and Tobago. What was the response? No response. Minister Hines, I will treat that foolish, idiotic question with silence. I will treat that foolish, idiotic question with silence. There we got it. Madam Chair, so you will treat that question with silence. Honour Hines, yes, I will treat it with silence. Refusal to answer. Refusal to answer. So you want us to deal with appropriations, to give you more money, but you will not say yes or no to simple questions that were put to you. And then we go on to these bills. The minister says he has to pay a lot of bills. Minister of Finance, bills. Says that he wants to pay bills. We have 1.79 billion in transfers and subsidies. That represents 58% of the total supplementation. And when we look at those expenses, they do not paint a picture of an economic response to kickstart the economy. When we dive into the details, we note payments for attorneys and rentals. Thank you.
Member,
I'm sorry.
Minister of Finance and Minister of Energy and Energy Industries.
I was correct.
Please, the
Thank you.
crosstalk and the talk between yourselves and your volumes way beyond what is tolerable.
Thank you, Madam. I said I would get the estimates for you for the EBC, and I was correct. The original estimate was for 76 million. And now the supplemental estimate, 23 million, which adds up to just under 100 million, $99 million. The original estimate, 76 million, supplemental, 23 million, making a grand total of 99 million for fiscal 2022 for the EBC. So I was on Minister telling us we are going to be paying bills, the backlog of telephone, tea and tech, promotions and publicity and so on. But there is, the Minister in a sense seems to be contradicting himself. He said payments of arrears to public utilities, rent, lease, etc., will regenerate ourselves and inject growth in them. Regenerate, inject growth. However, on the parliamentary record, the minister had said an emphatic no no to these arrears, putting companies into red and into bankruptcy? He said, no. I think MP Barry Padarat may have raised those questions. So if we are paying all these bills, as I said, from one side of the book to the next side of the book, between the same government state departments, and there is nothing in this 3.8 billion to help reposition the economy. In other words, no contribution to address the foreign exchange crisis, nothing about rationalizing the cost of custom duties by applying sensitive rates given the effect of the higher shipping costs and so on. From this 3 billion, government could have focused on contributing to retooling the education sector, which so vitally needs it. We are already losing tech entrepreneurs to Caribbean counterparts. YPay, or WePay, a leading regional fintech, relocated last August to Jamaica. That should have been a sign that our government's policies are not good for entrepreneurs. The government did not decide to recant from their poor decision of denying the laptops. And so there's no support for major economic sector to stem the loss of jobs, the tide of the loss of jobs. They have abandoned, as I said, the concepts of game changers. And when we look 15 to 20, we have been hemorrhaging with the FDI instead of gaining any FDI. So these arrears date back, those utilities and so on, as I told you, since 2018. So I don't see where you're going to get anything to inject in the businesses and cause growth for those businesses. That's not going to happen, Minister. That is a pipe dream, in my respectful view. So we move along now to some other areas. Public debt. The Minister spent a lot of time on public debt. And, I'm sorry, Madam, are you trying to get my attention? Thank you. Public debt. Well, the Minister gave some numbers. Again, I don't trust those numbers, because we've seen where they've not been correct in the past. As at September 30th, 2021, the Auditor General, I'll put my faith in the Auditor General, places gross public sector debt at $141.8 billion. $141.8 billion as of September 30, 2021. Well, that's just a few months ago. That's like 5 to 6 months ago. And when we look at the central government public debt, we see fiscal ended 30th September 21, 96.7 billion. 96.7 billion. So that the government, up to where we have those numbers from the Auditor General, increased public debt by $46 billion. $46 billion. So you really have a right to probably go and boast we didn't borrow anything for this 5 months. But we still have some more months to go in the fiscal year. So we will await that grand total at the end of it. The debt burden on the economy is very high. And there's no cogent plan, it appears, there's none forthcoming to remedy that debt situation. The further allocation of $3 billion of spending will bring the question about the state of our debt burden. We came out of the pandemic with an economic transformation plan. I wonder what happened to that, the roadmap to recovery something. What has become of that great plan? What has happened to it? No plan. Apart from this debt burden, government has a high debt service obligation. And let me tell you, Madam Speaker, on this supplementary appropriation, Minister spoke about public debt and boasting about it. Right here in this SFC, we saw they wanted money to pay to service loans. How much? Out of that money being supplemented, $291 million is to service debt, meaning to service things, the monies they had borrowed. And so we saw under head 13, the Office of the Prime Minister, interest payment on a treaty 500 million loan, UDCOT. There's just the interest now, you know. In some of these instances, the money that you're now asking for, they are going to pay just interest, so the debt remains there. So we're borrowing money to pay interest, to borrow more money, to settle debt. Head 13, I said, UDCOT, interest payment on TT $500 million, you have to pay, if a loan payment, $5.271 million. On the health, head 28 in the supplementary, NIPDEC, RBC bank principal payment of 17.7 million and interest of 4.9 million, loan for procurement, storage, and distribution of pharmaceuticals. So a total of 22.673 million to do what? To pay loan. Head 77, EMBD, principal on 90 million loan. You're asking for $56.2 million. What? To pay principal of a loan that was taken. Under head 80, tourism and culture, NCC, principal payment on TT 100 million, 2-year loan. You're asking for $20 million to pay money on this NCC loan. So under tourism, you have it under head tourism and culture, but it's really something that NCC did. 2-year loan. Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, principal and interest on a US 60 million loan to meet payments. Amount being asked for in total, $161.3 million. All of these monies going towards paying principal and or interest on loans taken by governments. So therefore, that's not going to bring any growth. That's not going to inject whatever the minister said. This $291 million to pay loans is not going to inject anything. Because you're paying interest here, and then you'll come again and you refinance some of these loans. That's what has been happening. Refinance, and the interest keeps going up. Here's another one. Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, US 25 million loan facilities to settle an outstanding balance of an existing revolving credit facility. How much are you asking for here? $16.4 million. On the head 61, housing, Unicot principal payment on a TT 51.1 million loan, a 1.5% 3-year fixed rate term. You're asking here for $8.9 million to pay this. Head 61, housing, Unicot interest payment on a loan. You're asking for $303,663. Total, grand total money that you're just putting on paper is $291.2 million. So out of this big $3 billion, that is sunk. That money is lost money, sunk money, spent already, that you're now paying for loans over periods of time. So government paid last year, madam, last fiscal, they paid $10.75 billion, not million, $10.75 billion in charges on account of the public debt. Understand this, you know. Understand this, $10.5 billion in charges on account of public debt in the last fiscal year. Clearly, some type of restructuring of the public debt needs to take place so that we can reduce this annual payment on account of the public debt. This would help government to spend needed billions annually in projects